Welcome everybody to Town Hall number 56. I'm starting to get good at these incremental adding numbers from the last. And we've got a very exciting one today, and it's Daniel Telfer from New Zealand, who's been amazing in sharing his knowledge as he's been learning Vue and then Nuxt and building out a toolkit for himself to make it easy to develop or easier to develop on platformOS around the framework that he has chosen, being Vue. So today we're going to be going through even more awesomeness that Daniel has been working on, a CLI tool for even easier deployment to a platformOS instance. But before we get there, Daniel's done some other very amazing, cool things, which I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek on. We're prefacing this with it's a work in progress. It's been something that Daniel's done in his spare time, in between his real job. And we threw the challenge down not so long ago, said, hey, Daniel, what do you think about this Twilio video API that we've integrated? What do we need to do to turn it into a module? Boom, he's done it in record time. And I'm going to quickly share my screen and just show you what it is. We've focused on functionality at the moment. The idea is that developers can make it do and react in whatever way is required for a business case that requires video, whether it's pay for a video counseling session by the minute, whether it's a group video chat in a private room, again, that you might want to charge for or build a invoicing system around. Maybe it's a video recording for adding to your profile in a marketplace. Maybe it's just normal video call. There's so many different use cases. And I'm going to share my screen just so we can show what's going on here. And this is all Daniel's work. You can see he's just playing around on staging at the moment. He has a page. And this will allow me, you can see my camera is working, and I'm using Zoom at the same time as I'm running this Twilio video app that Daniel built. So there's me. Hopefully this will record. What I'm going to do is put a name in here. And then Daniel, I'm connecting to a room. I'm going to call it POS. I'm going to join that room. So if you're on the other end there, which you are, there you are. So there's Daniel.
I can hear me twice now.
There's an echo.
Yeah, I can hear.
Echo, echo, echo. But
which means the audio is working.
Audio is working. Video is working, as you can see. Look down there. Daniel's up there somewhere. I can share my screen. Check this out. Screen share. Entire screen, application window, Chrome tab, whatever. So it's pretty awesome. Imagine what you can do now with the power of a fully integrated video conferencing, screen sharing, counseling, tech support, marketplace, group, conversation, video recording system. Now, of course, there'll be costs associated with the API calls and the bandwidth used, etc. But being able to build that for your client, you could probably do it cheaper than Zoom. So think of the opportunities there for those who need video. You can now say, yeah, we can do that. Now, when I say, yes, we can do that, this is, as I said, a proof of concept. Daniel, it took you about a week, is that right?
Yeah, it did. Can you hear me?
Yeah, totally.
I'm not sure if the others can hear me.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll quit out of this. So yeah. I'll leave the room. I'll shut that down and I'll stop share. And then I'll make sure. Can everybody hear us in Zoom, by the way?
Yeah, we could hear you the whole way through, so it's all good.
Oh, great, great. Well, better be safe than sorry. The point being here that what Daniel was showing us and the proof of concept that he had built, there we go, was that it didn't take too long at all for him to put together. And he's going to be refining that, and we'll watch this space. We'll have a dedicated town hall on it in the future. So very, very cool work indeed. Daniel, I'm going to pass it over to you again now, and you'll be able to focus in on what this town hall is all about, which is your work around Vue and Nuxt and the CLI tool. So all over to you, mate.
Yeah, so last time I presented, we talked about, like Adam just said, we talked about Nuxt or VueJS and Nuxt and integrating it into platformOS, specifically with SPAs, so single page applications. So one of the pitfalls of that was that it's quite a bit to set up. So each time you started a project, it would take a fair amount of time to set that up, especially with generated pages. So I'll get started on the presentation. I'll share my screen. I'll just get to the right tab here and just shut a couple of things down. Not that though. Bear with me a second. Okay, share. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep,
Cool.
mate, all coming through.
Excellent. So same as last time, single page applications integrating Vue and Nuxt, a CLI tool that can do it all. So by all, not quite all, but you know, pretty close. So I'll just recap quickly on what we went through last time, then look at the CLI tool, then look at setting up a project, which will start from scratch. So you can actually see it right through from the beginning, and then what I think could come next. So we'll go through it quickly. Adam's already alluded to the fact that last time, obviously, we talked about JavaScript and choosing a JavaScript, and then SPAs and platformOS, integrating with platformOS. In the end, I chose VueJS to be my preferred JavaScript framework. That doesn't mean that's the only JavaScript framework that I would use, but I think it's best to probably focus on one and learn something a bit better than to try and do them all, which I've done in the past and hasn't always worked out the best. So with VueJS, it made sense to look at single page applications. Without doing that, you missed out on a heap of the functionality that VueJS would offer you, and some of the extra benefits. So the pros of single page applications on Vue, it's got a small footprint, it's super performant, it's fairly easy to learn with the great community, and there's lots of build tools. Some of the cons was front-end, back-end separation, which I talked about last time. Basically, the front end and the back end not talking to each other as easily as you would like, which means you have to jump backwards and forwards between things. Routes are defined in code in Vue. It's SEO unfriendly, not as Pavel pointed out last time, not impossible for Google and the bots to do, but a bit less friendly. And the slower initial load time. Obviously, you're loading an application, which means that the initial first page loaded can be slower. So bringing in Nuxt, looking at Nuxt, it helped mitigate some of these problems, helped organize and simplify things like routes. In Vue, the routes are defined in code. In Nuxt, the routes are defined again by pages in a like we used to doing prior. So you don't have to look at it through code. You can do it back in adding a page and layouts and things like that, and it's there. Store, which is the data store, it simplifies simplifies metadata. And probably the biggest thing is it has a renderer, which can both render stuff on the server, which we can't currently do in platformOS, but more importantly, has a pre-renderer, which means that we can pre-render all the pages out, minified, missing a heap of the code that doesn't need to be there, all ready to go for when the page loads, and using Webpack to put that in a small JS file that will load on the page and make that initial page load a lot faster than it is with a standard single page application without doing extra work for it. So, so the CLI, create-npos-app. Sorry about the name. It happened a while ago when I first looked at integrating or doing stuff on npm. So there's a few things here that are first time issues that I had.
Hey, Daniel, that name, I like it. Sorry to interrupt, but maybe if you put an L at the end of app, because it'll be like application, because then it'll be nothing is npos apple.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, sorry, I just couldn't resist that.
Well done. So basically what the CLI is designed to do, or the CLI tool is designed to do, is to walk you through the setup of a project so that we don't have to do it. Obviously, when we create our instance, we end up with a marketplace kit, and that's it. We have to then build the rest from there. So a lot like Shane's CBO and things like that they have a CLI tool. This is for setting up with Nuxt. So what is the CLI tool? Well, it's a node package that runs on npm, and it's a bit like, it works a bit like marketplace kit. So you use your CLI and whatever CLI you've got, and say Visual Studio Code, and you type in npm, and you're not installing it because it's actually a code runner rather than an installer. So npm has a thing called npx, sorry, and that runs a package rather than installing it. And we'll see what that is in a minute when we go through the setup. Why? Setup's a bore. Obviously it takes time. It's stuff that you've done before. Why would you want to do it? There's also, with single page applications, you can have a template and you can have all sorts of other things, but there's some decisions you want to make as you're creating the project that you might want to change, and we can do that using the CLI. So it has extra options. The extra options, we can set it up so that it can work as a progressive web app automatically. We can give it a linter and a formatter. We can use Prettier with it. We can set up UI frameworks. So there's a heap of UI frameworks that we can do, like Beautify, Bootstrap, all the rest of them. npm packages, we can choose between npm and yarn, and I've also integrated one called mnpm, which is or npm, which is an extra one, which instead of npm, which installs the node packages into each project, it installs them locally on your computer and accesses them from there, which makes it quicker. It's not completely, I haven't tested it fully yet, but it does help speed up the node package, installing node packages and stuff like that, because basically it doesn't have to install them again. And then we also can integrate test frameworks into that as well, like Ava and Jest and as well. So setup. I will basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through a project setup right from scratch. So from creating an instance right through, so if we can see how easy it is to actually do. So I'm just going to go to my, a second, go here. So before we do that, I'll quickly show you how, here's the npm for it. We don't install it using npm, we install it using, well, we run it using npx, but we can see that down here in the documentation. So there's a bit of documentation on it. If you follow through, it should be fairly self-explanatory. But in saying that, my writing skills aren't particularly great, so we'll see how that goes. So if anyone actually uses it, then let me know and I can fix anything up that needs fixing. So start right from scratch. We'll create a new instance. As you can see, I've already created one here as a trial last night to make sure that this all went good. And if it didn't go good, then we can do it again. Worked well then, so hopefully it'll work well now. Okay, so we'll create a new instance. Select staging, create.
Oh, you chose the wrong billing plan, mate. You need to go for the $200 a month plan.
Yeah. Okay, so wait for a few seconds. It says it's active here. Cool. So we can grab our little snippet from here, copy it. And now we can move across to to VS Code. So I use VS Code. And we can just place our marker case in there and hit enter. Add our password. Oh, that's not going to work. Wait there a second. I have to redo that. I'll have to go and get it again. Still worked. Excellent. Okay. So I've installed Marketplace on here, but as you can see, we've got no files or anything like that. So what we want to do now is just going to bring up another, oh no, a second. What we'll do is we'll go here and go npx, create-npos-app. So basically we're running the app with that there. Then we add in a name. So we're going to go town hall -56. And that's the name that our project will be called. And I'm going to add a P at the end. I can type in project. I've done it slightly backwards here. By default, it creates modules. We have to add the extra parameter of project to start with a project. So I'll start with adding a project. And the CLI tool is up and running. So you can see here, I can type a new name in. Or I can, or I could have just hit enter for that matter. Now I'll have to type it back in again. But otherwise I could have just hit enter as a default. I can hit enter again here as a project description. So it's a project description. And here's where we start to be able to choose options. Now I won't choose any of these at the moment. We'll leave them blank, but what we can do is we can hit the space bar and we can select progressive web app integration. We can add a linter, prettier. We can add couple, we can deselect them, and we can move on. We can choose from a heap of UI frameworks. Now, bearing in mind that I haven't tested every single one of these, this project, it probably seems a lot more, probably seems like I've done a lot more work than I have, but this is actually forked from the Create Nuxt app. So there's still been a fair amount of work to do to get it to move across to so we can integrate with platformOS, but the basics were already there. So I haven't tested every UI framework in here and made sure it goes. If anyone was to use it, then and they want one of these up and running, and there's something wrong, then by all means let me know, and I will get them out. We won't select one at the moment, but we can do Vuetify, Bootstrap, Balmer, Tailwind. There's actually a heap in here. Some of them I don't even know what they are, to be honest. I'm not sure who would use them, so I'm not going to set them all up if they're not even used. Test frameworks, we can integrate it with Jest and Ava. As much as they're working, I haven't done a whole lot with them. So I'm not exactly sure how that, yeah, I'm not sure if there's any final problems with those, but for a project coming up, I will actually be using that.
We're using Test Cafe, so I'm not sure if that's something that can plug in, and we can provide some assistance there if you need that.
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that could be plugged in. Like, it's set up ready to go. So, like I say, like there's a forking it from the Create Nuxt app made it quite easy. It took a while for me to work out Node and all the rest of it. Been the first time that I did it, but once it got going, it's got some awesome features in here, and we can add stuff like that. You could add a UI framework or test framework or anything like that. Then we can choose npm, pnpm, which I told you about, which I said wrong before, which stores their packages locally or on your system rather than per program, which does mean when you move, you have to redo it all, but it's a lot faster than npm. It is npm at its core, but it's an addition on top of it. And we could also use yarn as well. So currently we'll just use, because I know it's working properly, we use npm. And now what's happening is it's installing the project as we've set it up. So you can see now up here, we've now got a marketplace builder with everything in it that we want. We've got Nuxt down here with our project in it. Currently the Nuxt, the main Nuxt source files are separate from marketplace builder. They could be integrated completely into marketplace builder. Only thing with that is that unfortunately at the moment, and this is something I could get the team to look at, is that with the node modules, it wants to upload them all. So basically, if I put node modules in there, they're JS files, and it starts to upload, 40,000 Node.js files, which I'm sure isn't ideal node modules when they don't need to be there. So that's one of the reasons why the modules will sit outside of Marketplace Builder currently. We can see it's finished installing the modules down here. Tells us what we can do now, so we can cd into our thing there. First thing we'll do is we'll go, I'll go POS. So I've changed this in my CLI to POS rather than Marketplace kit for ease of use. We get D for deploy and staging. What we're going to do is we're going to deploy it to staging. Obviously, this stuff came down, but it didn't actually, wasn't actually on platformOS. So we've done that, 3 seconds, pretty quick. I'll open up another window over here, so we can, in VS Code, we can run multiple CLI at the same time, which is really cool. And what I'll do here is I'll also start sync on staging. And what that'll do is that means that it's now ready to go. So whenever we change a file and we build it over in our project, it now, if anything turns up in Marketplace Builder, it will automatically just sync up to platformOS. Okay, so we'll right click here and we'll CD into the folder for the project. And then all we need to do is run npm again and run staging. So I've set it up so that it makes sense with platformOS. You can have npm run build and run dev, and we can still use run dev and run build on here. But I've set up some commands so that we can run staging on there, or we can run production if you've got a production instance. So you can move backwards and forwards between them. Now, one thing that I haven't done here, and I've just remembered, there's one thing that we have to do manually to get this all to work. So I'm just going to move across to my browser here. We'll go to town here, we'll open up the instance. So here you can see our instance. Now that we've deployed it to the instance, we get this little snippet here, which is a snippet for the CDN. Now the CDN doesn't come, we can't get that CDN up front anyway at the moment. There are other ways to do it. We could do it on the fly. So I could do this on the fly, but because we pre-generate the pages or pre-render the pages, I like the fact that it's done and it's already hard-coded in there. Like I say, we could do it another way, but if I can hard-code it in there and it can do it as it pre-generates the pages, then we don't have to do that afterwards.
Question, Daniel.
Go for it.
2 questions. Related to this and the CDN, let's say we've built it, we're going into production now, and we're pushing to a production site where the client has their own vanity URL, and they end up with a CloudFront URL versus the platformOS staging URL. I'm guessing that when you push your code and do everything, you're going to sort of go through the process, push it from staging to production site, and that CDN path could be different. Is that correct?
Well, supposedly they're not different. Is my was my take on it after speaking to Val. He might be able to do that, but supposedly it wasn't necessarily going to be. It's not different. I know it's not different from staging production. I didn't think that it was different. There was talk from CBO, from Shane at CBO, asking for the CDN to have a custom URL. So if that's the case, then yes, it would do. Now that's something that I, the team's got a lot to do, but I have asked if we could get that put into Marketplace Kit. We've got a URL here, if the CDN could be put in here, but it's not high on the list of I'm one of the only ones using this, so it's not high on the list of things to do. So I wouldn't go worrying. And it only matters for pre-generated pages. You could do it other ways. I just choose currently to do it this way here. So basically I've got a environment variable. So we use .environment. I can copy paste the CDN in here, save it down, and we're good to go. Now everything should work like it should, and that's worked so far. So let's touch wood.
Now, my other question, while I've distracted you, and yes, relating to the CDN, whether it's a CloudFront URL or a vanity URL, which will probably have a separate cost associated to it because we get charged for that on the CDN layer. So we will address that. The other question, though, was going back to the earlier point that you made around the JavaScript files and having them outside of the Marketplace Kit folder. The reason for that is that the NPM packaging and creation of all those JS files, you didn't want to sync lots and lots of those up to the site unnecessarily?
Well, with Node package, with Node, I mean, you get install Node, right? And especially with something like Nuxt, what you end up with, there's 30,000 files in here, right? Like literally, I got OneDrive and I had them syncing to OneDrive, and it would have a minute. I'd delete it and it would just and when I was testing projects, I had them up and down, and then it's got like 300,000 files that it's like trying to like sync, and I'm like, platformOS don't want us to like sit here because these are local files. So I don't need them on unless platformOS, unless we could use, and that's something we'll talk about. We'll probably talk about later in the next part. And I've already spoken to Pavel, and it's something that would come later on down the track. Once again, not obviously important at the moment, but being able to integrate on platformOS with Node directly, so that like npm and things like that. So I've forgotten the name at the moment. It's gone from my head. But basically, we could use this on our site. Now, you could then do server-side stuff using npm and things like that. Like, well, not npm, sorry, whatever you run on npm, which is completely gone. But you could do that. So that would help. But there's just too many files, and lots of them, you know, Pavel said it doesn't upload anything it doesn't want to, but unfortunately, lots of these are like JS files.
Right.
So,
now, I think Pavel just confirms too that that's perfectly fine, that you want to keep the app and the modules app separate from the source files. So his analogy is think of all of those node files as the source code, and that when it's being used in Marketplace, the Marketplace folder, and you're going to push it and sync it, that's the distribution version of it, the compiled version, if you like. If you're writing your source code, you compile it, and then you distribute the compiled version without all the other extraneous files. So I think that analogy actually makes sense. So keeping them separate is recommended. Thanks, Pavel.
And that, yeah, once you get used to it, it's not such a major, anyway, you kind of get it. So you can see here it's built and generated the pages. So now if I go back to here, we can go back to our, not that page, this page here, and we can refresh the page. Hopefully we have a page. So it's built the page, and it's now running on here. If we look at the source, we can see that it's all compressed up. HTML is compressed. Everything's compressed up or minified, and it's ready to go. So it's quite a small file that gets uploaded the first time. It's all pre-generated, so the server doesn't have to do a whole heap of work, and it makes loading of it fast, like it normally would do if you had a really performant first page on your site. Obviously, the problem normally would be is if you do this and you had a whole application, what you'd end up with is you'd end up with this massive JavaScript file in here, which is what the package managers, Webpack and all that are all about anyway. So Nuxt just makes it a little bit more simple to do that. I'll just get rid of this here. Okay, so back to code here. So one thing I have done, or actually first of all, before I do that, what I'll do is I'll set up a module now. So basically we'll go through exactly the same project. We don't need to do anything with the environment variables anymore, but we can literally now set up a module. So if I was to do npx, we'll go back to this side. We have to be in platformOS to do this. So we'll put that there, npx. Just call this plain town hall. And we don't need the P on the end because we're doing a module and it's by default. We could just hit enter. I'll just skip through these. Once again, we could add all these, but we don't need to if we don't want to. And install the packages again. So that'll go off and do its thing again. once it's done, you can see in, we've now got a folder up here called modules. So originally I had modules inside Marketplace Builder. Then all of a sudden realized that they should be outside Marketplace Builder. So they're now outside Marketplace Builder. So we can see our module in here. Public and private folder, Nuxt source, we'll talk about that in a minute. And our Nuxt folder, we now have the same sort of thing. We've got modules. So the main folder in here, this is our project. And our project lives in here, the source file, for lack of a better word. And then here we've got our modules. And every time we added a module, it would just turn up in here. And saying that, we don't spend much time. We shouldn't really need to work in this part here very much at all. I will go over here and get rid of that window, add a new one. Let's deploy back up to staging again. Otherwise, these files won't be on staging. So basically, I'm just deploying back to staging so that the modules, files from the modules end up there. We can CD back into our project, which is our module this time. So now I've got Nuxt modules town hall. And then we can do a npm run staging again. And we sync staging over here. So when it runs and when it finishes, the files you should see them syncing back up to platformOS once they're built over here. And then once that's done, we can go back and we can see that page there. Now, I'm not going to go through how Nuxt and VueJS work at the moment because it's you can see them. We're all synced back up there now. So now those module files were deployed, and then we created the project, and they were now synced back up again. We can go back here and we can type in /Nuxt. And now we've got a Nuxt platformOS module. So these are just basic starter templates like Nuxt and VueJS have. When you get something out of the box, they've got something there so that we can say, hello, we've got hello world here. We can get started on our project. So there's a few things we can set in the environment variables here. We can choose to minify the HTML or not minify the HTML. It wouldn't normally be done on staging, of course, because you want to be able to check stuff, and it becomes a pain to check. We went through this a little bit last time. I'll do it from the module. What we've got is I've separated out the source files, even though we've got the main source files for the project in here. We have the source files that we will use alongside the project. Now, what that means is if we were to take this module to another site, I can move these files to another site. Well, in fact, what would be better first is if I created an instance called the same name on the other site, or the name that I wanted it to, then I moved the files with the source being in, it would create the main source files for the project down here, and it would create the source file here, but then I could replace these source files and would be good to go, so that the module would be moved and would be able to create it like a single page application again. Private folders, public folders. So the files that we work in are a Nuxt source in the Marketplace Builder. That inside Marketplace Builder, in the modules, they sit outside the private and public folder. So we go into here, we've got assets, which is none of currently, components, layouts, just like VueJS would have. So Nuxt is not too big a step from Vue. Basically, all it does is it just tidies up a few of the things that we used to doing in projects that we would otherwise have to do in code again and makes things a little bit easier. So it's not a massive jump from Vue. If we go to a page, we can see our page here. Now, Vue or Vue and Nuxt would normally look like this. I have a template here, and the template is where all our HTML goes. Script tag, where all our scripts go, makes sense, and style tag, where all our styles go. Now we can do all sorts of things like scope our styles, have global styles, and lots of different stuff in here so that we can have imported styles and things like that. So not all our styles necessarily have to be in here, but if we've got some styles that what we want just for a specific page, we could go scoped up here, and now they're scoped. So now they're scoped for this page. That style won't work on anything else but that page. The bit that we add for the platformOS integration is the POS block at the top. So you can see that here. And it looks pretty similar to what it does in like a .html, .liquid file does in platformOS. We've got the front matter at the top, like so, obviously just with the page name in it, and then the liquid that we would want below it. Now, obviously, our HTML goes in our template block, and our liquid is used to populate stuff in the liquid. I won't go through how that works because it's a bit involved with the way that Nuxt does it. Now, we wouldn't normally, as Pavel pointed out last time, we wouldn't normally do it like this. This is basically just to show how it goes, pretty much like, so normally you'd be getting stuff from GraphQL and things like that. So we wouldn't necessarily be getting this data and feeding it into export and stuff like that. One thing with export for the team is that, and I don't know whether this is a good idea, but it would be nice to have an all, export all. Now, I'm not sure, I haven't even really thought about what problems that could potentially cause. But what if we want to export all of the namespaces out of there? It would make it easier if we just had an all there, but that's just one thing that would be nice to have. So
Pavel took a note.
No, he probably thought that's a silly idea. Okay, so I do have one extra piece at the top here, which is private equals true. Basically, we need to know whether or not this is going to be a private module or a public module. By default, if I delete this, it's private. If I was obviously to put private in and set it to false, then it would end up in the public folder rather than the private folder. That's how I've dealt with having public and private folders in here, so we can move stuff to different places. What I'll do now is I'll skip back to the presentation for a second. So that's pretty much how we integrate into platformOS. It's not super hard. I mean, it took me a lot longer there than it normally would than we go through it, but it does all the grunt work that you would otherwise need to do. Other tools that I've used in here are liquid language support, which obviously makes sense, so that we can type liquid into here and it looks all nice and pretty. VueJS, I'm not even sure how you pronounce that, but we'll call it VueJS for the moment being, which basically is it's for Vue. It's a plugin for Vue. What that does is it allows different code to be scoped into these blocks, so that we've got HTML here. And if I add an H1, oops, we can use emit in here like so. And if we've got liquid up here, we can use that. So it didn't originally have a block for liquid. You couldn't do liquid, but I asked I sent a pull request to the guy that had the app, and he kindly added liquid to it. So now we've got pretty liquid in here. We've also got, the other thing that I use is the custom snippets, platformOS snippets that we use here. So to show how it would work, currently one thing with this is that if we use liquid in here, we have to rebuild the project to get it to work. So if we were to use the development environment currently, it works for the HTML, but anything to do with liquid won't work without deploying or syncing back up to platformOS, because this liquid block doesn't automatically just end up there. There is a possibility to get around that, and on save we could inject these files here, or this stuff here, directly into our marketplace builder over here, into the files that where they get stored in the end, and then it could work. So I might have a look at that later on down the track, which is kind of one of the next things. So just to kind of show how easy it is to do stuff in here with the extra tools that we've got that we can do. So if we do town hall, and help guesstimator, because we always need to figure out what number town hall it is. And this is not scientific at all, by the way. This is just me kind of like doing it. So assign milli here, and we can see we can add a date. You can add milliseconds to that there. So basically, this is the liquid snippets that I thought I'd show as well, because I wasn't sure how long, whether it would be good at the time or not. But it makes it easy to add our time code and things like that. Whereas otherwise, we have to go back and try and figure out which value milliseconds is and all the rest of it, which can be, for me, I can't remember one of them, far less all of them. And the if blocks, I'll show you how our if else block can work. Sets it up so that it's kind of a bit like emit, so it's just using the rich snippets, but it means we can jump through blocks, and we can make this set up pretty quick. We do here 5, and we can keep tabbing. Oops. That. Sorry, not the fastest typer in the world. We can do append with this here, so we can choose our append blocks. Should be good to go. So if we save that down, we will build the project again, because like I say, can't do it without building it at the moment. we're still synced over here. So once this is built, we should be able to go back to our page. See the files moving across. And if I keep clicking this button, oh, it's Town Hall 82. But it's only there to show of something else that I thought that I'd show, because I wasn't sure this is going to take 5 minutes or 55 minutes. So otherwise, Adam would have had to have bookend me. Or exit stage left, one or the other. So as far as things I want to do next is if people started using something more like this could be used for not just Nuxt. It could be migrated and used for other projects as well. Just basically a way to speed up the initial setup of projects and things like that. So that's pretty much it. That's what I've been, one of the things that I've been doing. So does anyone have any questions? Has anyone left?
I want to ask, just from, you're building this because it's going to be helpful as a productivity tool for you based on the framework that you've chosen. What kind of a percentage increase in productivity, having built this, do you see it giving you as a return on investment over the coming months?
I have no idea.
This
is
going
a
to help.
project. Yeah, it's going to help. Like, I think the snippets and bits like that. Like, if I had to set this project up using this here, it would take me ages. My short-term memory is atrocious. Like, I can remember stuff that I did at school, like 30 years ago. But like, you try and ask me what I had for dinner yesterday, and I couldn't tell you. Like, sometimes I have to relearn the code the next day. Try and figure out what I did yesterday. So this all helps with stuff like that. And there's a lot of stuff we take in during a day. So getting around some of these things, not having to remember every single dot and cross your T's and all the rest of it that you need, just means that we can speed up and focus on the stuff that we really need to focus on, and the stuff that matters, pretty much. But this has been a project for me. Like I say, I'm a graphic designer. It's what I do for a job. It's not what I want to keep doing for a job, but it is what I do. I've done websites and coding for a fair while, but this has helped me learn. I learned Node, and I've learned Twilio API, and I've learned, a lot of stuff like VueJS, Nuxt, and the last since coming to platformOS, I haven't necessarily what you'd call done a lot as far as productivity goes, but I've learned a whole heap and done a whole heap on here. And this is just one of those things, and I can kind of see where things are going, and I can't help but get stuck in this, like, I wasn't going to do this to start with, and then I thought, I'll just give it a look. I just want to see how it would work. And I couldn't let it go until I had it kind of done and dusted. So it's just kind of more of a personal project for me, but it could migrate across to Nuxt. It might not be the thing that people use, but it could migrate across to Nuxt, which is what they use for Google's framework. Can't remember what it's called. Like React and things like that as well. So it could be implemented over there. It could be forked and used for something like that. It could be done on raw stuff without that extra layer on top, like Nuxt or Nuxt. But there's things here, and there's going to be things that wouldn't help, but it's all a matter of like kind of seeing where I envisage things going and how I would want it to work in a perfect world.
Shane's got a question. Have you got any projects that you're working on now?
No. Like I say, I'm a graphic designer. This is what I do in between time.
your white labeled Zoom competitor product, your video in the browser. That's
that is the project that I'm working in. I haven't implemented it this way at the moment. It's still in its quick start format. That I've added some features and got it working on platformOS with the help of the platformOS team. Adding some things for the JWT token and stuff like that. So that was really good. But yeah, not any major project. This is just how I envisage things going. And one of the things that I wanted the ultimate thing that I wanted to have was a project that was, in the end, was that it can be pre-generated. So stuff's not having to be done on the server. It's pre-generated. But once we get it into that single page application, we can fetch stuff from platformOS automatically. And one thing that I would like to see is that we had the ability, instead of polling for that data, to be able to retrieve that data. And Adam, I think we talked about that yesterday, and you alluded to the team doing something with that, which would mean that one of the problems with single page applications is that you have the single page application, the page will turn really fast, but we do one of two things. We either have to go out and use Ajax to get some data in before the page turns, which slows the page turn down, or we have to get it afterwards, which then means with this flickering that we've got. If we could get that data in the background, syncing back up in a fashion that obviously wasn't going to overload our system, then when we went to turn the page, that data would automatically be there. So then we've got this system that we can build it. It can be lots can be pre-generated. Stuff that needs to be got from the server on the fly, which is less stuff than what it was before, can be. The stuff's coming down and rebuilding our pages and updating the stuff as it goes. And now we've got this fast loading first page, SEO ready, that we can then also use the benefits of single page applications, which means we can use progressive web app technology and stuff like that to create apps and stuff for our thing. But it's all theory, because I haven't, this is just, it's just a thing that I've been working on, and a vision that I had for where this would go and end up.
I'll unmute myself now. Brilliant. Any questions? I know you've done a nice deep dive, and for those of you who are technically adept, I won't include myself in that statement. This is going to be really good, and I think for people who watch the video, they obviously can reach out to you and chat with you in Slack, and watch this space for all the exciting things that you're going to be providing to the community, right?
Yeah, well, I'd like to contribute more. Like I say, it's something that I've always enjoyed doing, is code, and it's something I'd like to do a lot more of. It's probably what I would like to have done a lot earlier in life, but we'll see how things go, and we'll keep straddling the divide at the moment. But yeah, with things like the Twilio integration and video chat, things like that, it's really good. So thank you for that, and it helps give me an actual project to work on,
and a project that's going to generate income. That's the exciting part of that. I think the idea of being able to have that module available to others, so that white labeled video conferencing, paid or otherwise, when I say paid, people that pay for an online counseling service or group chat, project check-ins, a white labeled Zoom, only with a little bit more flexibility around how you monetize, is going to be really awesome. I can see that. But also, from what you've shown us here, the single page application momentum is growing. We're getting requests for those as well. So again, being able to push out those requests, knowing that they're going to get done right in a framework that's, as you've demonstrated, works seamlessly with platformOS is brilliant. Yeah, and Shane has said, we would love for you to build modules that extend into insights. Actually, Shane, someone asked me the other day, I can't remember who, Was it you, Daniel, when we were talking about the video plugin and being able to go, hey, you want to extend into Insights dashboard and
yeah, and Shane, I'd love to be after like the Twilio chat app would be the first app, the first thing I'll be building that actually is something that could go into there, and I'd love to be able to build stuff for in different variations, potentially for CBO, and potentially something for SiteGlide, which have different clientele. I talked to Adam about potentially having different models for that. Obviously, there's some clients, the more corporate clients, the enterprise clients, that they might still want stuff done on their, they might still want to purchase something because it's going to cut down a heap of time. But one thing platformOS obviously gives them is that they can have that data stored directly on platformOS rather than going out to a third party, so it's on platformOS. But they also want to be able to get into that code and access it more. So there'd be different variations of that code, from lockdown to say something a bit more like on SiteGlide, to a bit more open, and the pay level, the cost levels would go up depending on how much access you want to be able to manipulate and change those things, so we can cater for multiple scenarios of that. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything else. If I manage to get this Twilio chat app sorted and up and running, and we can integrate that, then hey, I'll let you know, and we'll get it sorted.
That would be awesome. We're extending the CRM at the moment, and we're doing a couple of updates to that. And it's available within Insights Core, which is obviously free. So the CRM is really at the heart of Insights, and we're going to make it better and better as we go along. So it would be something fantastic to chuck into that you could maybe dial up to a contact, something that's in the CRM. So I think that would be really handy.
Yeah, and that's that kind of, that's my thinking as well, and that's where we need that integration to be able to happen. So I've got to create this in a way that like platformOS have, really APIs everywhere, so that can happen. And if there's extra functionality that you or whoever has that on their site wants to integrate into that, it can be added. And so there'll be the basic integration, and then I want to keep it so that people have got the ability to kind of, add stuff on top of as well, because we're not going to have to, like you've always said, you're not going to have to build everything all at once. So I want to have the ability for people to be able to add that on, and maybe that feature will come in natively in the end, but to start with, so that people can use it and take advantage of it in the way that they want to.
Yeah, perfect. We're currently working on the documentation for people to, when they create a form, to ensure that those forms or those contacts end up into the CRM, because that's really, what I think that BC's advantage was over all the other CMSs around, that the CRM is the focal point, because that's how you then manage orders and secure zones, and you talk to other external systems. So we want to make sure that that is open and available for anybody to extend. And I like the idea that you can use it raw, but then we could adapt a little module that would plug into the Insight system, and then make it available to everyone that's using that ecosystem as well. So yeah, look, we're really excited about what other people can do on top of what we're building. So that's always been our aim, and try not to be the sole people owning it. It's really open up to the community to add stuff.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And so I might hit you up at some point about features and things like that. Obviously, there's a core set of features that pretty much all these kind of things happen with regards to Twilio and stuff. So we'll get those underway to start with. But yeah, with regards to platformOS and potentially using it for Town Hall and stuff like that. So I might be able to present on, Town Hall on the app.
There you go, Adam.
Yeah.
Drink your own champagne.
I'm on mute. Yeah, well, we kicked it off, actually. Let's just do that again, shall we? In closing off, let's head off to that link that you sent me, Daniel, and I will get that other screen? Because I think, Shane, you might have missed it. So I'm not sure if you were here.
Oh, yeah, you might.
Yes, sorry. You know, I'm not a morning person, so I did miss the first part of the town hall.
All right. Well, you missed a part of the demo, which included, I'm just going to connect in. Actually, I'll share my screen, shall I?
Yeah, share your screen. I'll go across.
Daniel, I'm going to share my screen. So this is Daniel's video app integrated with platformOS. And I'm going to connect, and the room will be POS. Okay, Daniel? So I'm joining that room.
Yeah, so I'm joining the room now.
And in moments, we will see Daniel there, and here he is about to. Oh no, you've got your camera turned off. Maybe, mate. Oh, there we go.
I did hear. I think I saw it on Slack. I'm really excited to actually see this in detail.
Well, this is us now. We are in a browser using a few clicks. We just set up a group or video chat. If somebody else wanted to join, they could as well. And I can share my screen. Audio, of course, works through it. And this is just in some of Daniel's spare time, him putting this together. This will be turned into a module, and then other functionality around how you want to skin it, how you want to apply monetization. Oh, here we go. Somebody's just joining. Oh, that's you sharing your screen there, Daniel.
Yeah, it's not pretty, as you can see, because the sharing screen thing's not done. But you can see the screen up there, though.
Yeah, look at that. You're down there now. Yeah, so this is all happening, and then imagine one of the use cases we talked about. It was in a marketplace context. If I need somebody who wants to give me some business advice, it's a video conference. Your first 5 minutes is free. Okay, I get hooked in the first 5 minutes, and then up pops a little credit. Enter your credit card now, or are you happy to continue this conversation and pay? Yes, I am. Boom, click. Now I'm doing a video conference and I'm getting paid for my time in whatever increments. Group chat, screen shares, town halls, everything that we're doing with Zoom and more.
That's freaking awesome. Well done, Daniel. That's great.
I'm going to stop my share now.
For that.
Yeah, it's very cool stuff. Well, hey, everybody, it's 3:15, quarter past the hour. Been another fantastic presentation from Daniel. Thanks, mate. I'll shut down this other screen so you can turn on your...
Yeah, now I can hear one of you again.
Yeah. And I think a round of applause for all the work you've been doing on Vue, Nuxt, the CLI tool, video integration, and this is just in your spare time. I can't imagine what you must be doing on your full-time job.
I've got a fair bit of spare time at the moment, so it's all right. Time is what you mean.
We've got a few modules that we're going to see over the next few weeks by the sounds of things.
No, not quite that. but thanks to the platformOS team and the community really for kind of allowing to share the stuff and learn all this stuff as well. The help that I've had from the rest of the community and stuff like that has been amazing as well. So that's all helps, it helps upskill us all really at the end of the day.
Yep, definitely. Well, thanks again. We will possibly be deferring next week's town hall because of July 4th. We just realized that a lot of people are going to be celebrating that, obviously not in New Zealand or Australia, but elsewhere. So that will have an impact. And again, thanks to you, Daniel, for an amazing presentation. Obviously, people will be watching this video and reaching out to you once we've published that. And again, brilliant work. Can't wait to see what you do next, mate.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.